morning, everybody. Afternoon in our time zone and morning in most of yours, I think. We're delighted to be here today. And just as I say that, the sun comes out where I am. So there must be some kind of great energy around this group already. So that's pretty exciting. Today we're going to run through a few concepts, and we're going to give you a tool to practice. And I'm going to get Alison to run us through the agenda for the day in a moment. And really just to say that when we talk about systems and systemic coaching, in essence, really, we're just talking about acknowledging that we're all connected to each other. We're all part of systems, and those systems both interact with us and we interact with them. So it's getting away from this kind of idea that we're individuals and we kind of need to be fixed as individuals, or we can solve our problems on our own, and really just getting this very broad perspective into the coaching that we do. So for the purposes of today, hopefully that's enough for you just to get a kind of sense of where we're coming from. Al, over to you.
Thanks, Kath. So during our session today, we'll really be in kind of 5 parts. So first, we'll do an acknowledgement exercise where we really think about systems thinking and get ourselves into the practice of what does this look like? What are some of the systems we're a part of? Then we'll talk a little bit around definitions. So systemic coaching, what do we mean when we talk about these terms? Next, we'll move on to the use of metaphor. So you'll see we have a bird as a metaphor to look at discovering our resources. And it's just a way to get us thinking in a bit of a different way and to help us think, to help our clients also do that. We'll also look at the fact that this is embodied work. So we're really getting into what is happening, what's coming up for us somatically, and how slowly we're going to be working. It can be not as intuitive or not what we're used to, but this will really get us into the practice of slowing down. So we'll do a demonstration, and then the group will have some time to practice. And after that, we will come together to do a little debrief in Q&A. So that you'll all leave today having practiced the exercise. You will have done it on your own and will be equipped to do it with your clients. So as we think about this first acknowledgement exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to do some systemic introductions. So put you in groups of 2. Looks like our numbers are good to do 2. Yep, 52 people, perfect. So we'll put you in groups of 2. And what we'll look at is introducing yourselves as part of a system, and what does your place in the system mean? So for example, if I think of my family system, that's a system that I'm a part of. My place in that system, or the time that I entered that system, is I'm the oldest. So I'm the oldest child of my family. For me, I had a great example come up this morning where we were doing my brother's son, my nephew's first birthday party, and grandma couldn't get onto Zoom, and so everyone looked at me. Right? Allison's the oldest, Allison's in charge. She's the one that will go ahead and take care of everything for everyone. So part of that is being the oldest child. And so that's the system that I'm in, what my place is in that system, and how that impacts. So as we get into our groups of 2, what I'll have you do is introduce yourself in this systemic way. So sharing 2 systems that you're a part of. What is your place, and what does that place mean? What questions do you have about that? Or Kath, did I miss anything?
No, maybe another example, just to give you an idea, would be an organizational system. So if you're say the newest member of a team, then what the impact of being the newest member is. So I'm the newest member in this team, And what that means is I often have to ask people for information. And then that has an impact on me because sometimes I feel like I should know this stuff and I don't yet. And so sometimes maybe it affects my behavior. So how easy is it for me to ask questions? So you're looking really at the position in the system and then the impact of that position. Cool.
Thanks, Kath. And I'm just doing just a quick room shuffle, and then we should be good. So you'll get an invitation to join your room. And when you click on that invitation, you will be whisked away. We'll take just 5 minutes to do this exercise, and then we'll bring you back to have a chat about how it goes. So you'll get your invitation just now.
Great, thanks, Al.
Thank you. I'll see if. Hi, Leila. All good in your room? I can't hear you.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
I was alone in my room.
Okay, you probably were in a room with CP. So I haven't heard anything from CP. But do you see that person's in the room with us? So
Yeah.
I think that might be.
I was alone in my room, so I came back.
Okay, well, I will, let's see, I'll get you. Okay, we've got a couple people in that. Let's see, I will go ahead and make some rooms of 3 then. Or let me see, here we go. So you have one other person in a room of 1, so I'll put you in there. So you'll be in room 4.
Thank you, Alison.
Of course, my pleasure. I've just got to find you. Here we go. So you'll get an invitation, and then once you accept the invitation, you'll join Christy. Does that come up yet?
No.
Okay, so on your screen, if you kind of clear everything else, there should be. I'm sorry?
Yeah, there's nothing. Just I can see your screen. Nothing came up.
Okay. Let me see. I'll move you.
You have been assigned join break. Hello, Christy. Hello? Hello, Christy.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, so sorry, I can't turn on my.
No, that's okay. Do you want to talk about the system you are living in?
The system. I'm so sorry. I was slightly late. I missed almost.
Okay, so she said I can make you catch up. She said so systemic coaching is about systems that you live in. For example, she gave an example. She's part of a family. She's the oldest one. So that's one system that she's in, and perhaps another one within the organization. So do you want me?
It means like, for example, the organizations, like, for example, basically, physically, I'm living Singapore. However, my system, like organizational, I follow Japan. So I live in 2 systems. One is physical, and I buy to another organizational system, which is in Japan, in Tokyo, and West Japan.
Yeah.
So what else do we need? to
What
talk
about your job?
a job. I'm coach. You mean in coaching or in my other field of work?
Whatever you want to share.
I mean educational research related to ICT. So make good use of ICT in wherever to give mentoring, also researching.
Okay.
We got to back to the back. We got to leave the backup room, right?
Okay.
Way through that slide, that'll be good. Thanks, mate. No, people are coming back. I think we've got most people back now.
Everyone's back, yeah.
So does anybody want to just unmute themselves and say what that was like doing that level of introduction? Was it different to normal? What was your experience of introducing yourself in this systemic way? Maybe just a couple of comments.
Hi, this is Abhi from Singapore. One of the things that I noticed as soon as I started introducing myself was I suddenly could see myself as being very tiny and a part of something. And the space from which I was speaking, it was a meta position. And it gives a much wider view to even just be doing a simple introduction like this.
Yeah, nice. Lovely. Thank you. Let's hear from maybe one other person. If we've got another experience, what was that like for you?
Yeah, Kai Chong here. So maybe I will go. So I was with Ramesh, and I'm from Singapore. And interesting thing is that as we shared, we discovered more and more about how we are sort of interconnected. May not be directly, but also because, for example, he was in the serving the ICF team, and so for myself, I'm a member of ICF, and so we see some direct connection and indirect connection as well. And also in terms of company, whether we are new in a company or whether where we are in terms of place and purpose connection. So I thought that was yes, interesting.
Interesting. Brilliant. And I suspect that other people who are listening to your comments are having similar kinds of experiences. We often find that when we use a systemic introduction, people find these connections in the sense of place coming to the fore much more quickly than often our less perhaps impactful introductions, which are much more personal. And so this idea of using systems in order to have a bigger context for ourselves is really what we're talking about when we're talking about systemic coaching, is coming to coaching with this idea of, you know, the person who's in front of me, I might be coaching one-to-one, but actually they've got a whole raft of systems that are part of their context. And all of those systems, of course, are part of what we're coaching. And by being in that interaction and that relationship with somebody, we're also impacting those other systems, not just the person in front of us. It was lovely to hear your comments. Thank you for that.
Kathy, we had a question come through in the chat from Abhilasha asking, how would you modify this exercise for a team that already knows each other?
I wouldn't modify it terribly much. So often when I'm working with teams, I'll say to them, to get something new, I might say to them, tell somebody else about a system that you belong to outside of work and what the impact of that is. So it just gives them another layer. If I know the team well and they've been working together and there's a reasonably high level of trust, then I'll ask them to talk about their family system. But I am often just careful with that, because sometimes, you know, as all ICF coaches know, you know, contracting is very important. So do I have permission really to work at that level or not? And that'll depend on the team and how big it is and how safe they feel. I hope that's helpful. Any other questions? And please feel happy to put them in the chat box. And if I don't notice them, Alison will, or somebody else will. So might have another one there, I think. no, that's the same one. Okay, great. So in terms of our working definition of systemic coaching, I've probably said enough about that. It's a whole topic in itself, and we want to make sure today that you go over something really practical. So we're not going to concentrate too much on the theory. It just gives you a flavour, a little bit of a frame, I guess, for the work we're going to do today. So one of the things that we're going to use today is a metaphor. And the metaphor that we're going to use is something called a piwaka waka. And if you can get your mouth around that Māori word from New Zealand by the end of this, you will have learned something. So that's your first challenge. The piwaka waka is also called a fantail. If that's easier for you to say, that's also completely fine. And you can, of course, use your own metaphor. But for today, we'll start and stick with this just so you get a good sort of clear example. So how we're going to talk about the piwaka waka is we're going to use this as a metaphor for the systems that we belong to, which we carry with us in the world. So if you imagine that you are the piwaka waka and you've got these kind of fan of tail feathers behind you, and each of those feathers represents a system or a part of a system or an experience or a thing that you bring with you everywhere you go. So we're going to do an example in a minute, so this will become clearer and clearer as you watch it. The nice thing about the piwaka waka as a metaphor is that in New Zealand, piwaka waka is often known as a messenger from the spirit world. So in our local legends, if you see a piwaka waka, it might be a messenger from one of your ancestors. And so we quite like that kind of tie-up with things that are seen and things that are not seen. So often with systemic work, we're working with the less conscious. So we're not always aware of this big tail of systems behind us. When we stop to think and we slow down, then we're a little more aware of them. So that time when you stop yourself, when you hear your mother's voice come out of your mouth, the first time you tell one of your children to clean their room and then you realize you'd always said you'd never do that. These kinds of things come up for us a lot, or we notice a little family trait that comes up. And those things happen when we're in a much more reflective space.
And I'll just add to that too, the more that we understand our own systems and how they influence our behavior, the easier it is to, when you hear someone else talking, to realize that they're more than just the person talking in front of them. They're all those experiences that are sitting behind them that might influence them as a resource, or maybe as something that is less helpful, depending on what's happening. But that tale for the piwaka waka often helps with the direction. So something to think about as well.
Cool. I was also going to just talk a little bit about metaphor, and I'm aware we'll have lots of coaches on this call who use metaphor in lots of different ways, because it's such a useful way of coaching, asking people, what's that like? And I love, there's a quote which I'm going to read you actually from Clean Language, a book that I got very familiar with in my early coaching days. And the quote is, "By enhancing communication between the conscious and the unconscious, it enables people to connect with their inner resources in ways that more cognitive approaches don't offer." So by enhancing communication between the conscious and the unconscious, it enables people to connect with their inner resources in ways more cognitive approaches don't offer. So this is what we're doing with metaphor, is we're allowing people to tap into what's less conscious for them. Okay, the last thing I just wanted to say before we go into a little bit of practice, and Alison might have a little extra to offer here, is really just to talk about embodied work. So in systemic work, it's a part of embodied work. And again, I know that we will have coaches here who use embodied work. And again, you know, we use this in different ways. And there's lots of great ways of using it. The way we use it in systemic work is very much to slow people down as they are working. So to really get them to center themselves, or to become very present in the moment, so that they're working with this sort of slightly less conscious level of their being, if you like. Al, was there anything else that I've missed that you wanted to add?
We did, no, not on my end, but we did have a question come through.
Okay.
Yeah, Ramahan asked, Ramahan mentioned not being able to think of more than an organizational system, personal family system, and social system. Was wondering what are the other systems they might be a part of.
Okay. So ones that would pop into my mind would be cultural systems. They might be country systems. They might be extended family systems and your ancestry. So what's your, so for example, my ancestry is on one side is Irish and on the other side is English. And I've been 4 generations in New Zealand on one side. So I've sort of got this mix of different histories. They all have influence. Present systems would be things like religious systems. They might also just be things like friendship groups. And, you know, in my friendship group, it's okay to say what you think. In another friendship group, it might not be okay to say what you think. It might be okay to make certain kinds of jokes or use certain kind of language in one friendship group, but not in another. And we can belong to both and still adhere to the rules in both of those groups. So we change how we behave. So what joke I might tell my grandma might be different to what joke I tell my friends. Just little examples like that. I hope that's...
And I was just going to mention, and it's all those little norms of every place that you've worked, right? So your organizational system presently is very much influenced oftentimes by every company you've been in throughout your career. Sometimes I'll do things that I know came from an early mentor of mine who had a great influence on how I am professionally. She's always been an example, and I kind of think about her. And so those are the systems that still, even when I'm not a part of them, they're still impacting me.
Brilliant. Awesome. Okay. Great. Oh, excellent. We answered that question. Thank you very much. Okay. So I think what I'd like to do now, Al, do you want to, yeah, so let's go through the role of the coach and then let's do the demo. Does that sound good? Cool. Okay, so these, to a larger and lesser extent, are your instructions for when you get to doing your practice with your peer. So we'll be putting you into, back into some Zoom rooms, and you'll get an opportunity to test out the little exercise that we're going to do with each other, so that you can have a nice little go with it, and then we can answer any questions that are live, which makes it easier. So this won't be news to most of you, but some of it might be just a little different, or the subtleties might be a little different to how you would work. So the first principle of working systemically is to do what we call to sit with not knowing. So no interpreting of other people's systems, no judging of other people's systems, and I know you wouldn't do that anyway, but really to sit in a just really holding the space for others to do their work, and really just noticing with them, just being a witness to them. So really sitting with not interpreting, not judging, just not knowing, and being curious together about what are these systems? How do they impact me? To do that well, you need to go slowly. And ironically, the slower you go, the quicker you'll go. So the quicker you'll get to the less conscious stuff, right? So really encourage you to slow down. And when I say slow down, I mean things like slow down your question. What do you notice? And it almost feels like you're wading through treacle, but it's just that real slowing down, and it helps people just to to stay very centered and present in the moment. When we speed up, we start to engage our brains, and we start to make plans, and we start to decide whether or not to say things. With this slow, centered approach, we'll be much more able to discourage judgment and just to witness. And the final thing I've got down there is just to be gently curious. And when I say gently curious, really what I'm saying is questions like, what do you notice about that, to the person who's doing the exercise? How is that for you? What do you notice about that system? Again, really slow, really gentle, just curious. All you're doing here is helping people to get a little bit of insight into where their resources might be, right? And because we're asking, we're working with people on their resources today, we're going, and this, I suppose this comes to the not knowing piece, really what we're doing is we're helping people access their own resources. We're not trying to give them resources or tell them what their resources should be or say to them, oh, that'd be good, use that one. We're just opening, it's like opening up a little flower and just going, oh, what's in there? That's interesting. And I just really want you to just sit with that real nice, gentle curiosity. All right. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. And again, into the chat box is absolutely fine. Oh, and yes, it is the Rees and Sullivan Clean Language book, by the way. I've just seen that one pop up. All right. Al, over to you for techie stuff.
Yes. So I know we've all learned more on Zoom than we ever imagined we would in January or so. But I want to make sure that everybody's just a bit familiar and has a little practice with the annotate tool, because that's the tool that we'll use together today. So if you go up to the top of the screen, you'll see just like this example, it says view options and then annotate. So on the next screen, before Kath and I go into the exercise, I'll invite you to just go ahead and annotate something on the screen. You can write your name with text. You can pop in a stamp. You can draw your signature. Just give yourself a little practice. It's anonymous. You don't have to draw anything beautiful, but just give yourself a little practice of using that tool. And I'm just noticing I don't have the option. Do other people not have the option to annotate here?
Yeah, we don't seem to have it.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay, so it might be a setting behind the scenes. I've never not seen it, but I'm seeing chats come in. Maybe there's some information there. I've never seen, okay. Oh, it has to be allowed in settings. Okay. That's the first I've run into this. I wonder, Jade, is that something that you're able to pop into the back end and take a peek at?
Just give me, let me set this up. Oh,
Awesome.
I see Velina just said it has to be set up in the setting. Let me see if I can do that quickly.
Cool.
Sure. And in the meantime, happy to take any questions so far. If you have anything, just pop it in the chat room while we're doing Jada's having a chance to do her little behind the scenes piece.
And I'm also going to do a quick peek to see if we can work out a fun alternative.
Okay, cool.
Which I'm sure we will. Thanks for your patience.
I'm wondering if there's any Zoom expert on the line because I'm at the back end and looking at meeting and I'm not sure where I can find the whiteboard.
Do you have a security setting on your meeting control?
Yes.
Click the security and see whether you have options over there.
Yeah.
I think there is the whiteboard option though.
But
In
should
the
be
security.
annotate rather than whiteboard.
What should I look for?
To your participant, there is a button for security.
There's security, lock meeting, enable, waiting room, share, chat, rename themselves, unmute. Nothing.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to see the whiteboard function. Would anybody be able to point me to that?
Jada, if just try if this works. Typically, when we click on the share screen, there's multiple screens that open up for you to share, and one of them says whiteboard. If you click on the whiteboard, usually it should show you a plain screen, and then that has the entire annotate piece come up.
Alison, as the other host, would you have that function on the share screen?
Yeah, when you share screen, then it allows you to pick what to share. Just click whiteboard to share.
I don't see whiteboard. I think that might be another thing that might be in the settings. Oh, this is, yeah. No, I don't see, I have desktop, iPad, iPhone, and then all of my screens.
Yes, if you go in the basics, like in the basic setting, then you can see screen, whiteboard, and then you have like an option saying optimize screen sharing for video clip, and then you can also click there.
I see whiteboard. Okay, but
yeah.
It's already on. I think the whiteboard function is on.
Okay.
Okay.
Alison,
is there anything about annotate?
Sorry?
Is there anything about annotate there?
Let's
see, so I'm going share.
Yes, and it's also on. Allow hosts and participants to use annotation to add information to share.
Yes, this one.
Yes, it's on.
Okay, so let's see if maybe it works now. If that's on. Yeah, this is interesting. It's the first timer. We will, so let's see if we go back here, see if we can see it. I can't see it. Can anyone else?
No. So I'm just getting the slide up. I'm not getting the whiteboard. Al, should we do a manual one?
And then, yeah, maybe we can share a screen. Take a picture. And, yeah.
We can, it's fairly straightforward to do. And then when you get into your Zoom rooms, there'll just be two of you, so it'll be easier to do. So we can just do it that way. That's all good. Okay. Are you happy with that, Al? Is that going to be the best way forward, do you think?
Yeah, would you like me to do one here in front of me that we can look at rather than using tech?
Yeah, that'd be better.
Cool.
All right. Okay. So, and this is the way that we would normally do this if we were face to face. We would often use Post-its or something that we would have to hand. So if you're doing it and you have got a whiteboard on the Zoom, we get people to draw feathers. You'll see how this works. And otherwise, we just use Post-its like Alison's holding up there. Okay, so the first thing we do is we just get people to get themselves centered. so that they are ready to do this work. Now, I would do this in a coaching session where I had somebody who was struggling to feel their resources in some way. So they might describe that as feeling unconfident. They might describe that as feeling overwhelmed. There'd be a number of different things that you'd all come across as coaches that you might decide this would be a good exercise to use. So we're just going to demo it for you, and I'm just going to do a fairly short demo, and when you get into your rooms you can let it last a little longer, and you'll see a little like the systemic introduction. You just start unpeeling a few layers as it kind of goes. Okay, so Alison, I'm going to ask you just to put your feet on the floor, nice and solid, and just to take a couple of deep breaths just to center yourselves. And for those of you who are listening in, you can use whatever you like at this point. If you have a breathing exercise you do with people, or you have a little guided meditation, then please, use what is familiar to you. So I've got Al taking a couple of deep breaths, and for the purposes of this, we'll call that enough. Alison, have you got, and I just encourage you to give, so people have got an idea of what you might be working on. So just give us, in a sentence, what's the issue you might like to be a little bit more resourced around?
I have a colleague that's struggling personally. I'm thinking of how I can support that colleague.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to ask you to do, Alison, is to draw a little Waka Waka body, which might just be an oval with a little beak on it. Drawing itself is not important, people. It's just a representation.
Can people see that okay? Should I get a Sharpie?
That's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, good. I've pinned you on the video. You're pinned.
Oh, pin you on the video?
Yeah.
Al, can you pin your video?
I've pinned Alison, so she's on the main screen.
Cool.
Right.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you.
So
okay.
Here's my, so I'll try to do it upside down.
It won't matter, Al. Just do it as you're going. It'll be fine. So I'd like you to just think about your feet on the floor and think about something in your past that you feel has given you some kind of resource. And just the first thing that comes to you, don't tell us what it is, just pick a colour, and that's going to be a feather in your tail. And I'm going to encourage you maybe to write just an initial on it or something like that, something that just lets you remember what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think of that Waka Waka as being you and this being a tail feather, just breathe in that resource that has given you. Take a moment. And now from your feet again, what's the next thing that comes to your mind in terms of a resource? Something else that might have resourced you in the past. Might be a person, might be a thing, might be an experience. And again, I'd encourage you just to put a letter or a symbol or something just to remind you. So tell me what you're noticing so far, Alison.
Well, this first one really feels like the base for what I can use. It's a skill set that I have that I know will be beneficial to help her look at some different perspectives. And it's notable that I put this one over top of it because I really feel like this is the base and everything will spring from this important skill that I have.
Okay. And what else?
Well, this is an external resource that we share. And so I think it's important that they're touching. They feel interconnected with one another. They're definitely not separate.
Okay. And if you were to put in another resource, what might that be? Just take your time placing it where it makes the most sense to you. Near or far, connected, disconnected. Now, because I'm conscious of time, I'm just going to fast forward us, if that's okay. Yep. So, and just do a little teaching point here, Alison. So, I would let this run for quite a little amount of time. So, 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes you can spend an hour on these. Just noticing everything that turns up, allowing the person just to say as much or as little as they want to say about the resource. When you come to a point where there's quite a few feathers, then it's a really great opportunity to ask something like, what do you notice now you can see all the feathers? The point of this exercise is to help people to recognize their own resources. So once you get a few of these resources down, people start to see quite a colorful picture of all the different things, and it can be very impactful for people. So if we're fast forwarding and Alison's already got quite a few there, I'll ask her about that. I'm going to let you try that out, because what you'll find is that everybody will come with something different, but that will often be the moment at which you get some insight from your coachee. Right, so it's real simple to do, but the power of it is in getting those resources up from their feet, getting them to kind of breathe them in. And you don't have to use systemic language. So you don't have to say, what system do you belong to? You can say a thing or an experience or what is it in the past that's given you a resource? And what you're really doing is you're building layers for people.
And I usually take that right to, what are the resources that you have that you haven't used yet?
Nice question.
So just different ways to get people to think about it, in case they can't think of the former things. They might have levers to pull yet.
Yeah. And sometimes people will say, because in the moment they're feeling unresourced, so they might say, I haven't got any resources. So what have you had? What might give you a little bit of something? So just being really curious, and take it slow, and don't fix it for them. Don't say, I'm sure you have got lots of resources. Okay, just let them unpack it for themselves. It's much more powerful when we unpack it for ourselves.
And this is a beautiful example, the fact that we're doing it this way, in knowing that you are sitting in the not knowing. Like, if you didn't see this, it would be just as valuable to me. So just thinking of that too, as you're facilitating now, sometimes it can feel like, I need to see it. It's like anything else with coaching, right? Do we need to see it because we're curious and we just are feeling a little bit nosy? Or do we need to see it to help the client do the work?
Yeah, really good point. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to put you into some Zoom rooms. all we want you to do is take that kind of broad, you know, way of being as a coach, so that curious, not knowing, going slow, decide within your partnership who's going first, draw a little body, and then create some feathers. Now that can be drawing some feathers. If you happen to have some post-it notes, that's very convenient. However you would like to do it is absolutely fine, because it's not about the picture, obviously. It's about what turns up. All right.
Beautiful. So I'm going to put you all in breakout rooms. You'll get an invitation again to join. There's one group of 3, and we'll have just over 20 minutes in our group. So just raise your hand if you need anything while you're in your group, but I'll send you off, and then we'll have a good 15 minutes for questions when we're back. Great.
Right.
We'll see you later.
Hello.
Hey, hi. Hi. I've seen you facilitate quite a number of ICF functions and webinars, but we haven't met in person because I'm a new member. I joined ICF Singapore this year in January, and my new member meeting was done via Zoom.
Welcome. Yeah, unfortunately, by Zoom, there's pros and cons.
Yeah, but how long have you been with ICF Singapore chapter?
A couple of months also.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Where are you originally from? Because I can't quite place the accent.
I'm French, but I left my country more than 17 years ago. So I'm a citizen of the world.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I know a few French people, but I think their accents are stronger, so I could pick that up. But
because before Singapore, I was in London for a decade. So I'm not a typical French, and I've been in many countries. So most of my life will
global citizen.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have annotated, so I've drawn, if you can see, like a picture of a fat bird. Is that what we're supposed to do?
Yes. So what is the system that you notice?
So how do we go? We talked about the system and then my issue in that system, and we reflect.
Yeah.
You can coach me first, then I will draw my resources, right?
Go ahead. You already drew your Pika Waka. Is it like that?
Yeah, I think it's Pika Waka. I don't know, it's like a round.
Beautiful.
Okay, I will switch off. I'll switch off my background settings so it'll be easier. The organization thing will be work, I think. Let's go with work. So it's in a work structure. Yeah. And I'm part of a global project, so it's been frustrating because the global project entails people from different. I work in a Dutch bank. I work with ING Bank. That's my day job. My coaching business is the side gig, which isn't generating a lot of income at the moment, but never mind, that's another topic. But okay, let's focus on the day job. So it's a global project, Amsterdam head office, London stakeholders, and of course Singapore being Asia Pac. Frustrating because lots of people slow moving, some want to move faster, some people don't want to take accountability, night calls, which I don't like because I have kids. So a lot of things, but I can't get out of it. And this project is going to run for 2 years. It will finish hopefully by end 2021. So it's a big one. The last call on Thursday, I was very frustrated because it was not productive and they pushed a lot of things to me and my colleague. Legal. So they pushed a lot of things to legal to do, which I thought wasn't fair if you guys, the business and all that, don't get their act together. So they pushed a lot of things to us. It was more of an accountability issue. I want to ground myself with the right mindset for the next call, which is actually on Tuesday. So it's after the long weekend. Yeah. So my mindset now when I think of the call is like, it's 1, a waste of time. 2, I'm very frustrated. 3, I feel that if my colleague and I put in so much work, is it really going to do anything? So you can see it's negative, and negative. And I think if I go, I know if I go into the call with that kind of mindset, it's not going to go well. People can feel the energy, even though it's on the Skype call, but they can feel like, if I sound like this, they would know that, I'm basically very fed up. Yeah. So that's my issue, to shift that mindset for my Tuesday call, which isn't very far away.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
So that's one of your feather.
My mindset.
Yeah.
Did I see that as a feather? But if I put that down right now, it's very negative, the mindset.
I don't know. I'm confused because I'm torn with two things. I'm being upfront, you know. I could coach you with that topic, but I don't feel we're doing the exercise.
Okay, so then let's stick
because
to the
I have a
exercise.
very good exercise to shift your perspective on that.
Okay.
I know will be very powerful, but that's my coaching hat coming up. And I would be very, very, you know, excited to do that with you, because it feels like your topic is how to get into a good mindset for Tuesday. Yes. And your current perspective is you are negative and you don't see how to get out of it, or not sure about the wording, but
just frustrated. Yeah.
Frustrated. Yeah. So
whether it's worded. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your current perspective, frustration about Tuesday's meeting. Then I'll be willing to explore with new energy to make you shift perspective here. But I'm wondering about the exercise. I'm telling you, I'm torn. I want to do an exercise. I know it's very powerful to change your perspective.
Well, why don't we do the exercise so you can guide me on the exercise bit? So I'm supposed to identify a feather, right? A tail.
Yeah. So so I suppose I'm concerned. Is the feather about only one system, or is it about all the systems? I understood that the feather was the Pika Waka was the entire system. So one could be work. What is your first feather?
I thought that the whole thing was just to address that particular issue. Then the feather are the resources to address that issue.
Okay, so what is your first feather then?
So the first feather I would say is like my resource, right? So it's my technical skills. So I have that. So when I go into the meeting, I know what to say and what to do. So that's the technical part of it. So it's like my skill set. So that's like my first feather.
Technical skill set.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what do you notice about this one?
I put it right at the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, I can see. What do you notice about this technical feather?
It's big. It's long, as in it's like the core of it. Because anyway, this one, they got me in because of our legal expertise, me and my colleagues. So the technical skills is like the foundation of it. So we provide the information that they need. So in every meeting, they were always required to put input in this nature. So it's like, I can do it. I have the skills to do it. Some may be quite challenging, but it's part of my job. Yeah.
I can see you are calm and there's a lot of confidence here.
Yeah. So the head bit is the head knowledge bit is a strong resource. So I see the feathers quite broad and like you said, like you pointed out, I am confident about it. Yeah.
You're totally grounded.
Yeah. I think the other one is my ability to build relationships. So it's a bit frustrating because this project is very big. There's a lot of people from all over the place involved. So the people aspect, the relationship building, this is tough. This is tough for me. So I've put it above a bit smaller. This one a bit smaller, and there's a gap in between because can't bridge the people and the skills, the technical skills. We all provide data and all that, but if you don't have that good working relationship or understanding that everyone's going towards a common goal. I think a lot of people are talking about different things, although there is a common goal. That's also part of my frustration, because like I said, some people want to do it this way, some people are moving slower, some people are really going ahead. We don't seem to have that collaboration and understanding, and people from different departments, different backgrounds. So it's like if you're not all going towards a common purpose, it's all over the place. So I think that's really getting to me. Yeah.
What do you notice about this one? Because I hear mixed feelings. What do you notice?
I guess a big part of it is my own expectations of what I expect of them. I don't like to confront, but one of my skills is to get people to listen to each other and to work together as a team. And I find that I'm not able to leverage on that skill in these calls. I can't seem to get people to listen to each other. It's not my job, but I do try to do that in team meetings and all that. So it's like, I feel I'm not meeting my own expectations. Like, Jenny, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you getting the people to listen to each other? But again, I just said, it's not my job, but somehow it sounds like I'm putting extra pressure on myself. Yeah.
Yeah. You put the expectation high for yourself. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
What would be the appropriate expectation then?
Do my part, which is the technical skills bit, contribute, and let go in terms of the pace. I shouldn't, and I won't impose what I think people should do. Yeah. Okay, Leila, I'm mindful of time because we only got like 10 minutes each.
What is it's okay. I don't have much to say. So what are you complete with this feather? Something you want to say?
So realization, like you said, I put too much stress on this people aspect. I guess relationship building takes time, although we've been in this project since March, but it's not been moving that well with different time zones and different people and all of us meeting on phones. It's just somehow slows down the collaboration. Yeah. But again, what's coming up is like, it's not me. I don't have to drive this and get everyone on the same page. But there's that desire that I want that. Yeah, so it's extra stress, which is why I think on Thursday's call I was frustrated because 2 people were going that direction, 2 people were not interested, and the others were just trying to work together, and it's just pretty much all over the place. And I was like, maybe at the back of my mind I was thinking, why can't just everyone get along if they can see what the common goal is? Yeah. Because several times during that Thursday meeting, I was trying to bring people to like, hey, we're supposed to discuss 1, 2, 3. And we've only discussed 1. You know how this kind of meetings can be. They go on and on and on. Yeah, so that was that frustration. So thinking about this, yeah, go on.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so thinking about this, for Tuesday, it's more doing my part in terms of the skills bit. I need to prepare something. So doing that and delivering that for Tuesday. And then the people thing, I really have to let go. Like center myself before the call and say, Jenny, just focus on what you have to do and let go of this almost like need to get people to work together. Yeah.
Yeah, letting go. That's what you said a couple of times. Yeah. And what about asking people how could we reach our goal rather than you keeping the problem?
Yeah, I mean, we did try that on Thursday, and that's what happened. they said that, oh, okay, you guys, why don't you guys, as in, you know, me and my colleague, you guys do the things first and drive it, and then we will chip in, which I thought was very unfair. So it's that they're not accountable. Each one of us have our piece, but they're not accountable. They're pushing it us to do first, so to get the momentum going. So, okay, I mean, it's not fair, but at least if we do it, we will move it somewhat. Yeah, so I hear about like, why not we all think together and see how we can achieve the common goal. We have tried that, so I think it's just the frustration that it's not, people are not that committed. Yeah, in some ways. Yeah.
Okay. There's the people are not committed and they're pushing back the light or the plate or onto you. Do you notice another feather here?
Yeah, it's like I take it on and I do it. So it kind of feels like, you know, people know that I'm responsible and I'll do it. So,
but there is frustration.
There is frustration because it's not all meant to be done by me. Yeah. Yeah. So, what's another feather?
The frustration. Which one?
But, you know, I wouldn't see the frustration as a resource. That's the thing. We're supposed to see the feathers as resources. Yeah. That we can, that I can use to move to a different mindset. Yeah.
So what would be the resource here? So you are hardworking?
Yeah, that's one aspect. But like you said, you know, you still see the frustration. Yeah, that I'm doing the work, but I still feel frustrated.
What do you want to say to your colleagues?
Oh, it is like we've done this piece, so take this piece and move on and put in your piece, and then we'll work from there. Yeah, because we have some milestones to meet. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like doing our piece, handing it over, you guys do it, then we'll come back again and we'll discuss the work in progress before the next timeline. Yeah. So it's like planning.
Have you mentioned, planning. Have you mentioned
planning.
that?
Planning. Oh, we have lovely charts and graphs on planning, but yeah, it's a good point to remind about timing and planning in the next one. Yeah. So I guess the next feather would actually be structure.
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 So you have technical, relationship,
and structure. Structure. Yeah. And I've put the structure feather between skills and the technical skills and the people. So it sits in between. So it's the structure that ties in the people and the deliverables that we have to do. And the structure will help me see that I don't have to take care of everyone and everything. You know, as long as there's a defined structure, I just do my piece, they go with that structure in terms of timing, deliverables. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, it's not my fault. I'm not responsible. I'm only responsible for my piece. Yeah.
What do you notice about that?
It feels liberating, actually. It feels freeing. It feels like, yeah, why didn't I see that earlier?
It feels like you don't have any more weight on your shoulder.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's that, you know, I feel freer. Actually, I feel very free. And I'm not saying that I'm happy to go into Tuesday's call because there's still a lot of work for me to do this weekend, but it's like I don't feel frustrated anymore. I feel more like, hey, I do the skills bit, I explain where this sits in that timeline, and you guys have to do this, then just let that go. Yeah.
It's freeing you, and it's also linked to what you said earlier. It feels like it's easier for you now to let go.
Yeah, because I now see I'm not responsible for how everyone wants to react, behave, participate, engage in this project. Ultimately, all of us are accountable for this project, for our piece. So my job is to ensure my piece is done properly. Yeah. Great. Oh, but Leila, you didn't get a chance to do
That's fine.
it.
That's
okay?
fine.
Okay,
I
right.
enjoyed our conversation. So
no, I really, this is really helpful. This is really practical and helpful. Yeah.
How are you feeling noticing that? What's happening for you for your meeting on Tuesday now?
Yeah, the priority is for me to get the thing done. That's something I have to write up with my colleagues, so to get that done before Tuesday. And then Tuesday one is a night call, so we have time on Tuesday to brainstorm and to fine tune it. It's not a big piece, so it's my focus now is to do that piece and then go in and explain to them what they need to do, and then check the timeline. When's the next check in for this piece? Yeah, so it's just the structure. It's that last bit of the structure that really sort of put things in perspective for me, because all along I felt that it's like everything's all over the place and all that. Actually, we do have a structure. I think people just forgot, ignored, or didn't care about it. So I want to bring that in, okay, we have something due for, I think in September or something. So, we have to work towards that. And then after that, it's not my responsibility.
So what did you learn with this Piki Waka?
I really take it on and make it mine, even things that are not mine. Because it's just that, like you said, you said hardworking, but I think it's just who I am. It's I feel obligated to make sure that everything is in order. So maybe that's a deeper thing about me being is it controlling? Is it being a perfectionist? Is it, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot there. Yeah, I think there's a lot there. And I'll do reflection on it. And oh my goodness, it's 10 seconds. Thank you so much, Leila, for being so generous.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. A pleasure, Jenny.
Okay, I will see you
on the
in the big room. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, this was magical. How gorgeous. So, thank you for that, Anita. So we thought if we could, it'd be great if we could have maybe a couple of people just to share an experience, and then we'll take any questions that people have got. And feel free, once we're on the questions, to either pop them in the chat box or to just unmute yourself and we can take the questions live, so to speak. So, would anybody like to share an experience, how they got on with that, what they felt? Sure, who have got there? I've got Emmanuel waving at me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to make this great exercise. And I was wondering, I just want to share how it went for us. We had a question about the metaphor itself, meaning that culturally it has to speak to the person and to the coachee. And so we took a little bit time to see which kind of metaphor could be used in our session. And my coachee already was really not visual, so we had an idea to go to something kind of music, and then we used the metaphor of a music to go through and to put the different resources in the different moments of the music. And so, so the two points in this. The first one is, for me, the metaphor needs to really shoot to the coachee and speaks to the coachee. As a French, and the Piwaka is a nice animal, but maybe it doesn't speak to me.
Absolutely.
And so I found it really interesting and really powerful to have some kind of an anchor, a visual anchor, or an anchor in your mind to say, okay,
right.
And I will be able to refer to that.
Yes. And the idea of sort of these being the notes in the music, or it's this idea of, we use this, when I first learnt this, we learnt it as a peacock's tail, because I was living in England.
Yeah, we spoke about that, but the peacock in here in Asia, I think for Hindu people, has got a religious meaning.
Okay.
So we got to be a little bit careful for that, and it's really interesting to explore.
Just even just that part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's really useful, really useful. Should we take some questions? I'm just sort of conscious of time, or another share if somebody's got something that they wanted to share. Now, I can't see everybody's screen, so just please do unmute yourself if you want to say something.
Or if you have any questions, feel free to type into chat as well.
Yes, hi, this is Kai Chong here. So hi, Katie. I was with Priti, who also wrote a comment there about that we realized that we were tapping into each other's system, to get resources as well. So that came to our mind. And one question also is that when we do this metaphor, we're wondering also, let's say if we don't draw it, let's say we just verbally, describe the metaphor, would it be as powerful or as impactful? So we're thinking that maybe the drawing out slows us down. There's a connection point into ourselves through the writing, through our fingers, for example, and it becomes more intentional. So that's also what we realize as well. Yeah, so to share on this point.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kai Chong. I think one of the things I really like about making it physical is, as you've said, about the slowing down, and people build the picture. The other thing it also allows, which we often do, is people to either, if you're face to face and they build it with you, then they take something away with them, something physical that's that they can hold on to. And I did this exercise with a woman who she built this amazing peacock's tail, as she decided was her metaphor, and she took it home and she put it on her refrigerator. And she said that when I saw her the next time, she said, I put it on my refrigerator and I looked at it every day, and it made me know how many resources I really do have when I slow down to think about it. And then the really lovely thing was, she said her kids had asked her, her children had asked her, what was this thing? And when she told them, the little girl said, I want to have a tail too. And so they sat around and they made a little a tail for each of the children, and they all made their own tail. So it was good, it was a lovely way to resource the whole family, which was amazing, because for me, it felt like I'd coached one, and I'd really truly coached into the system. So it was a really lovely experience.
The other piece of this being drawing is really getting our clients out of the storytelling, because we tend to wrap a lot of words and tell a lot of stories about things. And I think that's part of the beauty of the systemic work, is really taking that bird's eye view, and rather than saying, oh, this person did this thing and it's because of this, and I see this problem, you get to really look down at what's happening and you go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. An example is, one time I had drawn my brother as a resource for something. And so I drew the feather and I said, that's not big enough. And I did it again, and I did it again. And, part of me is thinking, well, this is a mistake. Now it's 3 times and it doesn't look like the right feather. And as I looked at it, I realized my brother is a resource as my brother. He's a resource, as now this group knows, as my nephew's father and as my father's son, in what I was looking at. So it really just got me to not say a bunch of things about it, but really absorb that mistake.
Interesting.
Kathy and Alison, hi, I'm Zelina from Singapore. I had a follow-on question about the feathers. So Thank you very much for this wonderful experience and sharing your knowledge. Do you then take clients further into the feather itself in terms of depth of the resource, or do you tend to find that clients prefer to go with, width?
Yeah, so it's an excellent question. And I'm going to give you one of those really annoying it depends answers, which you were probably expecting as you said that question out loud. It's kind of you unfold it, don't you? So I often ask people, is that enough? When we come to what feels like an end, that kind of sense of, oh, I feel much more resourced, they're sitting upright, they're embodying the sense of being resourced or feeling more confident, or, whatever their kind of phraseology around this question was. So, if it's not yet enough, then we might unlayer some feathers and see what's behind or beneath. It also will depend on how they've described the feathers. So sometimes people will be very specific, and the feather will be, the time that my secondary school teacher told me that I was the best in class. Some people, it will be my family. And then I would unpick, okay, your whole family may be a resource sometimes. What are the bits that are useful to you right now? And we might unpick that a little further. Does that make sense, Lena?
Yeah, it does. And I'm just also wondering, just the last question on that. Again, there's an obvious answer, but it's more just getting Alison yours and Kathy your experience. Have you ever set this as field work and observation homework, and how well does it sit with clients who then do it on their own or continue to do it in between coaching sessions?
So I've tried it once as a go home exercise. The time, I've done it twice actually. The time it worked was when we started it in the session and we ran out of time, and that was good. They went away, worked on it, that was fine. I did try to do it as a takeaway on a training course, but what I found is that people came back with very complex, it was almost became competitive, like I've got lots of feathers in my tail. So which is grand, and well done them, but it wasn't really a systemic exercise then, because they were just kind of busy putting feathers in their tail. So that was my experience. Maybe if people are good at slowing themselves down, it might work well as a take home. But that would be my kind of caveat. Alison, have you?
I agree. I maybe as a second time that they've done it, but I think such a big part is just is pulling people back from just like, ripping Post-its out and putting them all over their office.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've got some great questions coming. Kath, do you think we'd have time for one more? Is that okay, Jada? Awesome. So Priscilla asked, just wondered if conditioned tendency may drive the conscious mind to construct the old picture, but not building a picture with systemic awareness of what they may never think of before.
I think it's a risk. Great question. Great question. Yeah. So our what we're looking for really in this systemic work is the inner image that we're holding less consciously. So, and there will, our conditioning and those things are a part of how we hold those inner images. So I think the answer is yes and. So I think some of that conditioning will come out, and I think that that's just true, and so therefore it's fine to be in there. This is maybe just a broadening or a deepening of and what else. So we allow everything. It's a very generative space. It's a very, it's just a very gentle curiosity. And so holding to that sort of principle, I guess it sort of doesn't matter if people create this picture. What matters is how are they finding their resource? how are they using that to the best for themselves for what they're looking to achieve. I hope that's useful.
We have one last question from Jerome. Would you be able to share your thoughts of using metaphors and ensuring that they resonate with clients in order to expand their thinking?
Yeah, I think exploring metaphor is probably another seminar, and there'll be lots of people who are you know, within this group who will have lots of good experience of that. For me, I simply use something that I think it's got a fairly broad appeal in the place I'm in. So when I worked in the UK and in Europe, I never used a Pīwaka Waka because people wouldn't, you know, we'd spend half the session while I talked to them about what a Pīwaka Waka was. So the peacock, people got that. Sometimes if I knew the client well, there'd be something that would seem obvious or something that they'd spoken about that I could then, you know, maybe encourage them to use. But I think that's all part of the exploration. So I encourage you to use what works for you. And if it's something in nature, that often helps us to get to that deeper centered self. So trees I've used before, and leaves on a tree. Unfortunately, one time I did do that. Somebody said to me, what happens when it becomes winter and all of my leaves fall off? So I told them to choose a tree that was evergreen. So, you know, you can have some fun with it as well.
And Jada, I know we're tight on time, so just if anybody wants to keep in touch, that's where to find us, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Alison. For the coaches online, if you would like to get in touch with Kathy and Alison, you have their contact on the screen. So do take them down. After the session, within the next few days, I'll be sending the slides and also a link to the recording if you would like to review it. So thank you both for this really nice activity that you took us through in the last 1.5 hours. I hope for the coaches online, you managed to get some resources for your own issue, as well as a very simple and easy yet profound tool to use with your clients. Yeah. So thank you for being with us. If you would like to apply for your CCEU cert, please look out for the link that is in the chat box right now. So just click on it, put in your email address and the name, and then we will be sending you your CCEU cert within the next 1 week, okay? Just to share with all of you, upcoming next, the event that we have got lined up for you is a series of business development topics. So starting in September, we have 2 topics each month, going to walk you through on personal branding, how do you leverage on social media, how do you do your marketing, how do you do your sales, okay? And we've invited amazing speakers from around the world. We've got Ajit from EverCoach, the co-founder of EverCoach, is going to be giving us a keynote. So just look up for the our information and registration that will be on Facebook, on our ICF website. All right. Leila have just put on the QR code for CCEU. So if you want, you can also scan the QR code that will help bring you to the application. Okay. Thank you all of you for being with us this morning. If you have any
questions,
we
take the picture?
Sure. Shall we do a group picture? Yeah? Okay, so put on your video. If you can, put on your video. If you want, show your Pīwaka Waka picture, and then let's do a screenshot together. Yeah? So Leila, would you be able to take the screenshot? Okay, let's count to 3 and you take the shot, okay? 1,
2, 3.
Cheers! There's one more.
Wait a second. I go to the second screen. Put on your camera. Best smile. I will do it one more time just to ensure we have a good picture. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being with us. If you got any questions, stay on back. If not, we'll see you in our upcoming webinars. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.